My name is David Woodall with the United Church of Canada, Emsdale Pastoral Charge. I've been thinking about this life, and I realize that probably more than anything else in this world, we want our lives to count. Not so much that we could get a reward or some acknowledgement, but it's one of the foundational life searches that we have, is to search to make our lives count, to search for individuality. It's the search to have some power and control over our lives. As we emerge from these pandemic days, we kind of understand that a little bit. It is the search for the ability and the authority to shape our own lives and to shape our own destiny. And we long for this, some sense of stability, some sense of soundness about who we are, about the world we live in, about the life that we live. I think we also want some kind of grit in our lives. We can make it through the tough times, and I know that many of us have just done that through these past few months and through many other difficult and trying times. We want to have some sense of honor that we have conducted ourselves in this world, in this life, in a way that we can be proud of. We have a strong character. We have a strong personality. We have a strong individuality. You see, when our lives count the most, we are our very best true selves. Who am I? The foundational question of life. These three words are sometimes said in wonder. Who am I? Sometimes in despair. Who am I? Sometimes in discovery. Oh, this is who I am. The psalmist wrote, "What are we mortals that you should be mindful of us? Mere human beings that you should care for us." In each century, in each generation, indeed in each day of our lives, we ask in fresh new ways, who am I that is alive today? From psalmist to philosopher, from adolescent to aging person, from 4-year-old to 40-year-old, from cynic to sentimentalist, from agnostic to Christian, these three words represent a persistent and pervasive search for individuality. Who am I? This search for individuality is a search for identity and the search for integrity. It is a search for responsible autonomy and responsible control and direction over our own lives and our own destinies. You know, Jesus at one point said, "I am the good shepherd." That wasn't just a religious statement, that was who he was. He was claiming that about himself because within himself he understood that part of his life was to be the shepherd. We are invited by God to have a healthy sense of individuality, to know who we are. You see, we're not made the same. We are different. We are invited by God to have a healthy sense of understanding this difference and accepting the differences and rejoicing and celebrating all the differences that we have. What an amazing and remarkable world that we live in. We are distinct. Now, there are whole industries that are built around this innate desire to be distinct. And these whole industries mold us into moments when we're not distinct. We look like everybody else. Oh, it could be the movement to have wonderfully colored hair. Mine's going gray. I'm kind of wondering if I should make it dark. Or we could follow things like true colors or personality traits. We could have tattoos all over our body. We could have body piercings. We could wear suits and ties like I'm doing. From life insurance policies to deodorant we use or the car we drive, people like to shape us and to give us a distinct personality. The Subaru, the Volkswagen, drivers wanted. We are a distinct personality. Now, truthfully, we will succumb to the pressures of whatever grouping has our loyalties for the moment. Our hairstyles will all be the same, or our glasses might be the same, or we might have baggy clothes or not have baggy clothes. Jeans might be tight or they might be bell-bottomed when I was younger. The dress of our fellow co-workers, whatever it might be, the current words we use to communicate to each other. But at the same time, we absolutely know, that we are more than the groupings that we're part of. We are driven to be individuals. And it's not simply that we want to have our own name, but in a deeper and more profound way, we want to have our own sense that I am who I am. Those, in fact, were the exact words that God used to describe himself, herself, when he was speaking with Moses. I don't know if you remember the story. Moses was talking to a burning bush out in the desert, and the bush isn't burning. And the bush was telling him he had to go back to Egypt and free up all of the Israelites and bring them out. And Moses knew he was under sentence of death if he ever reappeared back in Egypt. And so finally, after this voice carrying on and on and on, he finally said, who are you? Who are you that's telling me all of these things? And for the first time, God named himself. Well, only time in the Bible that God names himself, herself. And what God said was, I am who I am. The same thing that we want to say about ourselves. I am who I am. Jesus said, I am the Good Shepherd. And you know what? We discovered that he truly was the Good Shepherd. Be yourself. Love your neighbor as yourself. Jesus taught this. God taught this. This is basic living 101. Who we are, our sense of integrity, our sense of individuality, they go hand in hand. And mainly in this life, we want to trust people. And trusting helps to make our lives more complete and gives us a greater sense of ownership over our own lives. You know, I found this in life, that it's good to wisely overflow with trust. Trust too much unless people deliberately teach you not to trust them. It is far better and far healthier for us and for our whole community to trust too much and be deeply disappointed on occasion than it is to be suspicious of everyone until they prove they can be trusted. This is a good rule of living, even for families. And it's not a bad approach in this day and age when everyone wants to dispute and claim that they are right and you are wrong, so we can't trust you. Mainly we want to trust people. And we become trustworthy when we live with a sense of integrity, because integrity and individuality go hand in hand. And we define who we are. People see who we are in the decisive moments and actions of life. We do and say many things in life, and some of those things that we do and say are the finest representations of who we are. Those are the moments when we are honestly, truly, and completely ourselves. If someone were to observe us at those moments, they would say, now I know who you are. In Mark, there's a story of 4 friends who cared so much about the 5th friend that they climbed onto a roof. They removed the mud and straw top of the roof, and they lowered their friend on a pallet right down in front of Jesus. What an amazing love. What an amazing, decisive moment that those 4 friends undertook for their 5th friend paralyzed on a pallet. And 2,000 years later, we still discover life's lessons from those 4 friends. Some of those things that we do and say are the finest representations of who we are. I remember a friend phoning me about an amazing encounter she had with a woman. This woman, whom I will call Ruth, and her husband Roy, have virtually no money. They never have had much. Over the years, though, they have taken in a few of the bruised and battered street kids that haunt the edges of all of our communities. These are the children who have been kicked out of their homes or who left because of some abuse. Ruth and her husband Roy have never received any financial support for these children. It was just the kind of people they were. Roy now lies dying in the hospital, and Ruth sits with him. One day, while she was there observing the longest and most horrible wait any couple could have, Ruth met a young mother. The young mother's newborn daughter was in the neonatal intensive care unit. The mother and her husband had come from Thunder Bay. They have no visitors because they don't know anyone and it's too far from home. Ruth met them and took their clothes home to wash them. When last heard from, Ruth was waiting for the clothes to air dry. You see, her dryer had broken down a while back and they didn't have any money at the time to fix it. And Roy will understand why Ruth isn't there beside his bed. Because you see, that's the kind of people they were. We define who we are in the decisive moments and actions of life. We find the depths of a richly rewarding life when we participate in the mission of God, in this case, to welcome strangers and to wash their clothes. We discover who we are as we discover the ways in which our lives count. So today, make your life count. Be the finest representation of who you are, and may God bless you. Amen.